merry-hearted little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
The magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Yes, I tell you, it was a sad day on Saturday. All hope seemed to be lost. Representatives were thrown out of the State House. Democracy seemed to be at its end. Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But oh, that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last. But oh, we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes. Resurrection is a promise, and it is a prophecy. It's a prophecy that came out of the cotton fields. It's a prophecy that came out of the lynching tree. It's a prophecy that still lives in each and every one of us in order to make the state of Tennessee the place that it ought to be. And so I've still got hope because I know we are still here and we will never quit.
Out of order.
Out of order.
Out of order.
You're out of order. You're out of order. This whole courtroom is out of order. Everything's out of order. Happy, well, no, not happy. Good $5 Friday, you bastards. Oh! Good $5 Friday. It is $5 Friday here at Free Speech TV. This is the day that we ask people to give $5 repeatedly. Recurring. So if you support independent media and you're interested in anything that's happening in this country, which is moving so swiftly away from democracy and moving towards something else, and I'll let you name it, what you think this is, because this ain't democracy. This is something. I don't know what it is exactly, but this isn't democracy that we got on our hands here. When a gerrymandered state can produce a supermajority in its state legislature, and then through its supermajority, which isn't even a legit supermajority because it was a gerrymandered, gotten supermajority, can then foist its legislation, its laws, its will on the people who did not vote for them, and start taking away everything from the right to travel, the right to make medical decisions with your doctor, the right to read the book you want to read, the right to know our history, the right to know everything about this country so that you don't have to repeat the sad, dark roots that you sprung from again. And now they can even take away not just your vote, but if you manage to jump through all the hoops and cast a vote and select a representative, they can take that representative away from you with their supermajority. They can do court packing. They can take away constitutional rights with a supermajority, and we've been telling you about the dangers of supermajority, not majorities, supermajorities. What is a supermajority? That means 2/3 of the legislature. 2/3 of the legislature can override anybody's veto. 2/3 of the legislature can invoke cloture. 2/3 of the legislature can impeach any justice that they don't like. That's why I keep telling you about the results, the mixed results we got in Wisconsin this particular Tuesday. Because while Wisconsin, as a group, as a state, voted for a pragmatic person who believes that the Constitution gives a right to privacy and equal protection under law to all, she can be impeached by the supermajority that you just got in Wisconsin. 2/3 of a vote means she can be impeached. And will they impeach her? Well, let's see what happens when the gerrymandered maps are ruled to be racially discriminatory or dilute the power of what is a 50-50 Republican Democratic state. Let's see if she can survive an impeachment with a supermajority in the legislature if they don't like the fact that she's going to take away the gerrymandered maps. See what I mean? This is what went on on full display yesterday in the state of Tennessee. This is what happened in Tennessee. This is what it looks like when a supermajority practices bad, ugly, racial politics. This is what you get. You get a toxic mix of something that isn't democratic, but is something else, and you're going to have to name it. You're going to have to tell me what it is. But they went there. They went there yesterday in Tennessee. I'm holding my breath for Wisconsin and some other supermajority states. Look at what happened in Texas. My God, man, you got an indicted attorney general, a man who's been under indictment for 5 years now for securities fraud, making enforcing the laws in Texas. I mean, it's so unequal and it's so bizarre and it's so undemocratic. And again, what do we call this? I'll tell you what the protesters called it. I'll show you what the protesters called it. Those are the kids, okay? They have just about had it with being an acceptable price. Okay, an acceptable price for Republicans to pay in order for everybody to, be armed to the teeth. And of course, now they're giving, it would be so much easier for those of you who think that you have guns to beat back a tyrannical government. See, what you're seeing there in Tennessee is a tyrannical government. Some of you are going to say, see, Rand, that's what I'm saying. That's why we need a gun. Wouldn't it just be easier to vote them out? Just saying, just a suggestion. Wouldn't it be easier to give the Republicans the boot? Wouldn't it? I mean, it's 2023. Everybody gets to vote next year. Wouldn't it be better if you suspect that your government in your state or your government in the feds, are being tyrannical and they are eroding the democratic principles of the Constitution that say you have a right to interstate travel, you have a right to do interstate commerce, you have a right to privacy and your own person? I mean, wouldn't it be easier to just vote them out than it would be to collect and create a freaking arsenal and then have to go shoot people? I mean, one is easier than the other. That's just a gimme. But the government is getting very tyrannical in these red states. They're getting very listen, Florida, 80% of Floridians this week, 80% of Floridians said to the little red state high heel boot, hullabaloo boot wearing governor that we didn't want more guns in our state. We didn't want permitless carry. We didn't want people to be able to have weapons on their person at the Publix deli. Okay, we didn't think that in a state where people are, I don't know, they're on many, many different prescriptions all at the same time. We have a difficult enough time keeping them awake behind the wheel of a car here. Okay, everybody's on 12, 15 meds. It's now we said, maybe putting a gun in Grandpa's hand when he gets like number 47 at the deli counter and I have 46 and this peeves him, this pisses him off. Maybe him having a gun, isn't such a great idea. 80% of this state agreed with me. And guess what? He did it anyway. That's tyranny. When you don't get the representation that you voted for, when you don't get heard or seen or responded to by your government, it's an out-of-control government. But this is why they want everybody to have guns. They want everybody to have guns because they really believe that whatever it is they're ushering in place of democratic governance is going to require armed citizens to protect them. We also had the governor of Florida choose for himself, at taxpayer expense, a small but well-armed militia answerable to him and only him. Do you see?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
3 state representatives all protested hand in hand together. 2 were black men, 1 was a white woman. Did she do anything different based on your reporting that would keep her in her position and keep these men out?
Look, there is no coincidence that this happened in the state where the Ku Klux Klan was founded. I think that Tennessee has been backsliding, if it ever left its racist history, and I think it is just now that the nation is seeing this. Gloria Johnson did not do anything any different, and there was pretty obviously a racial component to this expulsion, and it wasn't even just the fact that Gloria is a white woman. It is also the fact that she was defended by 2 white male attorneys who are themselves former members of this body. So they fit in. They fit in with this body of people who were then voting for the expulsion. And frankly, Gloria was only saved by 1 vote, and that was probably the vote of Justin Pearson, who was later expelled.
I mean, this is just so unbelievably obvious. They literally went there. They're like daring us as decent human beings who believe that other human beings that live under our Constitution all deserve dignity and all deserve respect. I mean, those of us who live like that, those of us who know that that is the way to a happy life, you know, just give everybody, you know, the dignity and respect they deserve as a living, breathing human being in this country, in a great democracy, right? She actually had to deploy the Good Old Boys network on the Good Old Boys in order to save her job yesterday. And because she's white, you know, she's a former teacher too. Gloria Johnson, Justin Pearson, and Justin Jones are the 3 expelled Tennessee legislators. Pearson and Jones, as you know, are young black men, and they all represent very diverse populations. They come from Knoxville, they come from Nashville, and Gloria Johnson is a teacher, a former teacher. And she actually had taught school in a classroom where children were shot and killed. This is why she went into the state legislature. She said, once you see the terror and the trauma on the face of children in your care that are in your classroom that have, you know, been subjected to guns in the school and death, you never forget it. And you realize you have to do something about it. And that's what this is all about. This was about a fight to get Tennessee to consider red flag laws, to get Tennessee to consider safe storage laws, to get Tennessee to consider banning assault weapons or requiring the registration of assault weapons or putting assault weapons in an armory at a hunting club if you wanted to have them. Okay? There was no way that Tennessee was ever going to take any gun away from any person in the state of Tennessee. They won't even say the word gun, right? And so these young black members who got themselves elected, okay, went and tried to have a debate about guns. And for this, they were removed. They were expelled. A vote was taken. And by the way, they did use their supermajority. You have 23 Democratic members in the Tennessee legislature, 23, 75 Republicans, but 23 Democrats. And all 23 represent cities in Tennessee where people work, where people, you know, live together, where people know each other but aren't afraid of each other. Okay. And one of them is a man named John Ray Clemens. He's a Democrat. And he was trying to have a debate with these Republicans who knew they had a supermajority. They didn't have to listen to the debate. They didn't have to listen to anybody say anything. They didn't have to say the word gun. They didn't have to say the word, ethics. They didn't even have to make a case for expulsion. They just needed to put the expulsion motion on the floor and vote on it. Well, the member of the House that wanted to debate it, my God, man, he was like, you people are not even... Like, how old are you? You're like children. Why don't you just grow up if you can't stand to have a conversation? Why are you even in this room? This is humiliating. This is bizarre behavior on the part of adults.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are talking about nothing less than 75 people overruling the wishes of 78,000 people. And you're going to cut off debate? Give me a break. Is this a circus? You are talking about kicking somebody out of this body. Grow up. If you can't sit through a conversation or a debate on something no less than expelling a colleague, grow up. Get out of here. You don't belong here. You want to call the question? I am humiliated. I'm embarrassed. Look at the rules of procedure, the ethic rules. The purpose of this is to hold the respect and confidence of the people. Representatives should avoid conduct that even appears to violate the trust the people have placed in them. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Call the question. Ladies and gentlemen, point of order is, if you don't want to sit here and have this discussion, withdraw the resolution. Let's move on to the people's business and actually address the issue that created what made you uncomfortable. The loss of life, not just those 6 loss of lives. People in every community across this state that continue to be killed by gun violence.
Hey, Chairman Clemens, it's a point of order. I understand you're upset by the call of the question. If somebody have a point of order where we are, not a speech on the floor, but we're at a point of order.
Cameron Sexton, everybody, please, remember him. He's the Speaker of the Tennessee House, Cameron Sexton. I mean, you're talking about dead children. You're talking about dead teachers. You're talking about a dead school administrator. You're talking about gun violence in Tennessee that is off the charts. You're talking about more guns, more death, because in every red state where they have more guns, there is more gun death. There is more gun violence. That's just a fact. And all they were trying to debate, all they were trying to talk about was how to keep it out of school. How to keep it away from kids. Kids were begging, just let us live through high school. They had signs that said children are greater than guns. Signs that said children are greater than guns. They had to actually write that on a sign to try and start a conversation about their value in society versus the value of their little AR-15 pin that signals to the world, yeah, we're going full fascism. We don't give a damn. We don't give a damn. We don't care about children. We don't care about... And by the way, black activist members will not be tolerated. We're not going to, listen to you. We don't want you here. We're going to use our supermajority to take away elected officials from 78,000 Tennesseans who voted for you three. We don't give a damn what those people want. We don't like their choice. And there are enough of us now where we can literally bully you right out of your elected office. And that's what we're going to do. And people of good conscience stood up on the floor and said, are you freaking kidding me? You're talking about expulsion and you don't even want to have a debate? You want to end the debate?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody, it is $5 Friday. $5 Friday, woohoo! It's a simple little matter. It just lasts a couple hours, and what we ask for you to do is call 877-378-8669. That will get you one of the happy, peppy people in Denver, Colorado, who you are supporting with your $5 recurring gift. Now, if you could do one time, that's great, but this is really about giving $5 a month so that you support independent media like Free Speech TV, which, by the way, is probably, the only place that didn't cover wall-to-wall the indictment of the former guy, because other crap was going on in this here world that was important, like elections in Wisconsin and the expulsion of two young African-American legislators in Tennessee simply because they could, simply because they can. They're going there because they can. And they're assuming that you can't figure out what to do about it. They would be wrong, but that's why there's Free Speech TV, to help you figure out what to do about it. Okay, so donate online at freespeech.org if you are so inclined. And if you want to do it on your phone, no problem. The text number is 44321. and then put in the letters FSTV for Free Speech TV. We'll send you a secure link. You could do $5 and make it recurring. You could do more, but $5 is what $5 Friday is about. So thank you very, very much. All right. So what to do about it? Yes, that's the question that, this is why I make the little bucks, okay? This is kind of why, I'm here and let's say you're not. All right, the first thing that we need to do is get these guys back into the legislature. Is to not take it, right? So, yes, they were successful yesterday in showing you just how racist they are in the Tennessee good old boy legislature. And that if you let them gerrymander your freaking maps, that they would dilute everybody's power. Like the people who live in places where there are a lot of people, like Nashville, they're divided into 3 separate districts now. And this here legislature isn't done dividing you. They're not done diluting your vote. They're not done saying, oh, you got 2 Democrats that live next door to each other. That would be 2 votes if we kept them in the same district. Hey, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put 1 in this district and 1 in that district, and therefore there's not 2. There's just 1. That's what they're doing, okay? And still, some people manage to show up and vote for their favorite person and have it counted. And so you got 23 Democratic legislators elected in this last election to serve in the Tennessee State House, right? And they're just going to say, well, it doesn't matter how you vote. It really doesn't matter how you vote. And if we don't like who you sent here, we're just going to get rid of them. We'll get rid of them by hook or by crook. We'll get rid of them by saying, we don't believe in First Amendment rights. We don't believe they had the right to get on the floor and support the people in the gallery. Why? We're going to expel them based on decorum. They're going to expel people for decorum. You do have people in the legislatures all across this country. I mean, Tennessee is not the odd duck that is host to people who have been convicted of domestic battery, people who beat their wives and have been convicted of it. Tennessee isn't the lone state that has convicted felons in its legislature. They don't get expelled. They're not facing expulsion. You have child molesters in all kinds of legislatures. They don't get expelled. They don't. You have people that are under investigation, federal investigation for everything from security. You got people that are under indictment for securities fraud that are your attorney general, that are in charge of enforcing the laws in your state, and they're under indictment. They don't get expelled. This is bullcrap, okay? They just wanted to send a message, and the message is, we got the reins of power, and we're going to use it as illegitimately as we feel we must in order to purge our legislature of people we don't like. We don't like. That's what's going on here, and it's really disgusting. And they signal to you by choosing 2 black people and 1 white woman. And then they said the white woman, she passes. She can go. The blacks, no. And what are you going to do about it? Well, like I said, the first thing you're going to do about it, on Monday, these 2 men, these 2 black guys, these Jones and Pearson, now we're having to learn the entire, legislature in the state of Tennessee. Okay, I'll do it. Their city councils. Nashville has a city council that has 40 members on it. It's huge. It's large because Nashville is huge. It's large. So they have 40 council members. They need a quorum, that would be 27 members, to convene on Monday. If 27 members show up, they got a quorum. And then a simple majority vote is all that's necessary to reappoint Mr. Jones back to his seat, and then he will be an interim House member, and the election will happen in 2024, and the people of his district can go reelect him. Same thing for Pearson. Pearson is in Shelby County. Shelby County only has 13 members, so they need 9 people to have a quorum, and then a simple majority will vote for Mr. Pearson to go back as the interim member in the legislature, and then he will stand for election in 2024, and his district can re-vote him back in. So that's what you do about it. That's what you do about it. You make yourself aware of what's going on in your neck of the woods, and you watch your city council, and listen, and you make sure that on Monday, they all go back to work. Because Republicans, they got some stuff in their quiver, but we're ready. We're ready. That's the key here. Be ready. And now we know, be ready for everything. Everything. From an armed man on 15 meds in the Publix deli, getting pissed off that he's number 47 and I'm number 46, and I got a big order. I need Munster. I need Swiss. And I want it thin, okay? I want it thin. And I don't want honey ham. I want maple honey ham. Oh, yeah. And now I don't want a quarter of a pound. I want a whole pound. Go ahead, slice it nice and thin. You just be quiet over there. And then he blows my brains out. I mean, this, what could go wrong? But honestly, Tennessee is only the first to show you how low they will go. And the reason why is because Tennessee has a really dank, dark history of being one of the most racist states in this nation, which is really sad because you got these Great Lakes there. I mean, really, really beautiful. And I was considering maybe retiring there in a lake house situation, and now I cannot. So you don't get any commerce. No, I can't live in a state that, is very busy telling me drag queens are the danger I face when our children are facing weapons of war in their classrooms. But drag queens, that's who's going to give me, the problem of a lifetime. That's what I need to, shield myself from. You can't even have daughters grow up anymore in Texas. You can't have your daughters grow up in Idaho. You can't have your daughters grow up in Tennessee or North Carolina. You can't even have your children, your female children, grow up in these states anymore because, God forbid, something happens to them. You have no options. God forbid they get pregnant and the baby has a fetal anomaly. A birth defect. They'll let her bleed out.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is.
To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Tennessee leads the way in backwards in discriminatory legislation. We have the strictest abortion ban in the state. Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee was the first governor to sign a ban on certain types of drag performances and drag performers. Our gun laws are almost non-existent except to create laxer gun laws. And I'm going to point something out that I have not heard mentioned on any other show, but the governor has talked openly about the fact that his own daughter shot herself in the head with one of his weapons when she was a teenager. And he has talked about this publicly. And the fact that that happens and that his friend was killed just last week, and this state cannot even address anything. They can't even say the word gun. I don't even know how to overcome that except with time, people, and continued persistence.
Okay. Did you see Stephanie Rule's face there? Did you see her face? So what we learned there is that the governor of the state of Tennessee, who refuses to protect children in the state of Tennessee from semi-automatic or weapons of war, whatever you want to call them, these high-velocity, high-capacity guns, refuses to do jack about the prevalence or the constant, murder in his state of children in his state. We find out that his daughter, his own flesh and blood, literally tried to blow her own brains out with a gun, and still he just says permitless carry is the way to go. More guns, everybody, more guns. Not even concerned about the suicide rates or the fact that a poll was done in Tennessee, no less, okay, and found that 1 in 6 kids in Tennessee had thought about suicide in the last year, and that 1 in 12 actually tried it. Doesn't move him. Not when the money is rolling in from the NRA, or not from, the fact that he's built this monster of a constituency, and now he's afraid of his own people if he does anything at all to legislate, the prevalence of guns in schools or this is unbelievable. So this is where we are. We're in a place where you have legislators that are literally afraid of their own constituents. They're afraid of them because they filled their heads with lies and conspiracies and tyrannical government memes and every other thing, when they themselves are the tyrannical government that's taking away your right to free speech. We saw that yesterday. Your right to, protest, your right to have, a reproductive choice, your right to move freely from state to state, your right to, read a book, your right to, go to a drag show. These are the things you're supposed to be afraid of. And they're fighting these culture wars as a stand-in for solving the real problems, because to solve them means you'd have to take on your own constituency. And they're terrified of them, just like Fox News is terrified of their own audience. Their own audience. And you're going to find that out when the Dominion case starts. You're going to find out that, that they understood that their audience was a monster that they built, and that they built it on lies and conspiracies and pedophilia stories and a tyrannical, a person named Hillary Clinton and this one and that. Meanwhile, they were out there making deals behind everybody's back with adversaries of ours. They were cutting deals, with Saudis who were taking, freaking bone saws to people and saying, don't worry, we'll look the other way. Just give us $2 billion on the, and they're going to talk to you about a laptop that they've had for 3-4 years now, Hunter Biden's laptop, that somehow, somewhere, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years from now, they're going to find some damn actionable thing on his computer that's, actionable and not just, plain old embarrassing. And they're going to be able to, listen, either you're interested in influence peddling or you're not interested in influence peddling and doing something about it. But if you are interested in influence peddling, welcome. Welcome. Because we've been talking about it for 20 years. And that no good would come from it. But billionaires have purchased themselves state legislatures, and these state legislatures are purchasing courts. And the courts are literally taking away one right after the other. And I'm just wondering, how fascist are you going to let this get? How fashy are you willing to go? Because we're pretty fascist right now. This is unbelievable to me. Well, now, you find out that the governor of the state that's just kowtowing and bowing down to the NRA, his own daughter tried to blow her head off. And also he lost a friend. His wife, Bill Lee's wife, Maria. I mean, I'm having to educate myself on the entire, political landscape known as the great state of Tennessee. Okay. So now I find out that his wife, Maria, was also a teacher. Okay. So Gloria Johnson, who, was spared yesterday, she's a teacher. Maria Lee, Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee's wife, was a teacher. And the two teachers that were killed at Covenant were best friends. Okay, with Maria Lee, with the governor's wife, and two of her friends. They were supposed to come over for lunch or dinner. That day that they were shot, they were supposed to come to Maria's house for dinner, and they didn't come because they were dead. They were dead. They died in that school, and still he won't do anything about it. He will literally lose friends to death, to gun violence, and say it's not the gun violence that killed them. Really? Because the doctors would disagree. Because on cause of death, on that line there, it's going to say gunshot is what it's going to say. But, I mean, the more you know about these miscreants, the more you understand how dirty they are. The more you understand how they are peddling their own souls at this point. You say, well, what are they peddling at this point? I mean, they're peddling their own soul. Their own eternity, if you believe in that, okay? It's all for sale. They will go to hell for $1. And then you know what's really crazy? So now we have to be listening to, before all this happened yesterday, we were actually listening to complaints from the Trump camp about the Judge Marchand. Okay, not only did he have to threaten Judge Marchand, but he has to threaten his family, his wife and his daughter, right? Who worked for an advertising agency that did like online advertising. And one of the clients, when she was running for president, was Kamala Harris. Ooh, turns out that Marchand gave a whopping $10 donation. No, I'm not kidding. $10. He made a $10 donation 2 times to a Get Out the Vote organization. And one time he gave $25 or $35. It could be $35. I don't know if the total of his donations were $35 or if it was one donation of $35 to Biden's campaign. And somehow this disqualifies him. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here looking at the most unethical, disgusting Supreme Court justice that we've ever seen come down the pike. There's big news about Clarence. Big, huge news. Turns out, yesterday we were exploring how Harlan over there, Harlan Crow, no good ever comes out of a guy named Harlan. Do not name your baby Harlan.
There is a good comedian named Harlan Williams.
No, there's nothing good in Harlan. No,
okay, nothing.
Nothing. Never. Change his name. Harlan Crow has been supporting the justice of the Supreme Court known as Clarence Thomas for 20 years, giving him flights on a mega private aircraft, letting him stay in his mega mansion, giving him vacations, hanging out with him at Bohemian Grove. This is a guy who, I don't know what a Supreme Court justice makes. What could it be, like $120,000, $150,000 max? And the guy is living large. He's living like he had the #1, rap record in the history of rap. I mean, he is living the life of a rock star, okay? He's living with private jets at his disposal. And his wife is one of the most gigantic conservative activists in the history of activism. And that's not a reason for him to recuse himself from a case dealing with something his wife advocated for, and that was the insurrection on January 6th. But he didn't have to recuse himself. But Judge Marchand, who gave $35, he needs to recuse himself. He needs to excuse himself. He needs to, because, it's just the appearance. What the? And people are going to repeat this. You'll see. They're going to repeat it. Maybe not today. Because today they know they'll get their head handed to them from me. But people who aren't listening today, who are going to hear this on Fox News and hear Marchand and that he was a donor to Biden but won't hear the amount, they're going to call me. And I'm going to show them Clarence and they're going to say it's not the same thing. Why? Well, because Trump's being persecuted. Yeah, right.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
International travel on private jets, luxury accommodations on a super yacht, and top-shelf hospitality every step of the way. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and his wife Jenny enjoyed it all for free, according to an investigation by the nonprofit group ProPublica. So who footed the bill? Texas real estate tycoon and Republican mega donor Harlan Crow.
We found that Thomas has been taking luxury trips from this Dallas billionaire virtually every year for over 20 years.
Trips to California, Texas, Georgia, New Zealand, and just a few years ago,
Mr. Crow flew Thomas to Indonesia on his private jet and then took him island hopping for 9 days on his super yacht, staffed by stewardesses and a private chef. And we talked to, we were told that if you were to charter that jet and that yacht yourself, it could easily cost over $500,000.
The report says often fellow travelers included big business people and the heads of prominent conservative groups. And it says Crow once gave Thomas a $19,000 Bible that belonged to the legendary abolitionist Frederick Douglass.
Oh, good God.
Thomas declared that gift and some of the travel in his public financial filings, but the report says not most of it. CNN received no response to the report from a Supreme Court spokesperson, and in a written statement, Crow said this is just friendship. We have never asked about a pending or lower court case, and Justice Thomas has never discussed one. I am unaware of any of our friends ever lobbying or seeking to influence Justice Thomas on any case, and I would never invite anyone who I believe had any intention of doing that. Still, the revelations in this report have critics in Congress calling for swift and decisive action to impose serious ethical rules on the highest court in the land and every person who sits on it.
You know, I mean, it's all influence peddling, the whole thing, and what good can come from it. And this man did not disclose, these trips. He didn't disclose any of these gifts. Now he's telling the Wall Street Journal today, through a spokesperson on the Supreme Court, that this statement is just priceless. He said, Harlan and Kathy Crow are among our dearest friends, and we've been friends for over 25 years. As friends do, we've joined them on a number of family trips during the more than a quarter century we have known them. I know of no friends that do that. Do you? Do you have friends that say, hey, we're going on vacation, we're going to bring you and you don't have to pay? Because I don't have any friends that say, hey, let's go on vacation together, but we'll pay for you. I've never had a friend pay for me to go anywhere or do anything. We've gone on vacations together, but everybody whips it out. Their credit card. Calm down. Yeah, everybody whips it out. Everybody throws it into the middle of the table. Everybody you were going out to dinner. Okay, you pay for yours. We'll pay for ours. Here's a card. And we leave it to the waiter and the waitress. Hopefully they passed, some sort of a math class and can do it. But honestly, who has friends that every single year they're flying you to Indonesia, they're taking you island hopping, and you don't pay for any of this? And this guy is a multi-billion-dollar guy, and you're going to hear cases about business. You're going to hear cases about antitrust. You're going to hear cases about real estate transactions. You're going to hear cases about pass-through organizations. You're going to hear. Really? And it never comes up. Isn't that something?
Yeah, Randy, Harlan already told us that none of this was discussed. And these right-wing dark money guys, they're not ferocious liars or anything like that. So
or lobbyists or representing, other billionaires. No.
Hey, we're done here.
Even though I saw a painting, everybody, of, Clarence and Harlan sitting around painting. And one of the other people in the painting is Leonard Leo, who packs the Supreme Court at the behest of dark money donors, at the behest of billionaire donors, at the behest of giant business concerns. He takes their money, he funnels it through, Donors Trust and some other Kerry Severino type organizations, the Heritage Foundation, etc., and so forth. And they come up with a list of suitable names of people to serve on the Supreme Court. They hand it to a president who obviously is compromised in his own right and will probably end up in front of a court of law sooner rather than later. And they say, these are the judges that you want. These are the ones you pick. And if he balks or if he, sort of hesitates for a brief second, for a brief moment, and seems like maybe he's too headstrong to follow your lead, he thinks he's the Messiah himself, and he doesn't believe that Leonard Leo is, well, then what you do is you send a new attorney general to be his fixer, and you make sure that attorney general has the list that Leonard Leo wants. So that's another person that's in this painting. And another person that's in the painting is a lobbyist who I kind of recognize from some parties and stuff. But no, they couldn't possibly be talking about any germane issues that might come in front of the Supreme Court. Oh, hell no. Oh, and by the way, did we ever figure out who the leaker was of the abortion of the Dobbs case? Did we ever find out? No, we didn't. Know why? Because it was somebody inside. That's why. This Roberts court is one of the most corrupt, disgusting messes of a court. He ought to be ashamed of himself, John Roberts. He's the Chief Justice. He's supposed to be. So here's the thing. What do we do about this? Well, there is this little thing that we have called impeachment. We do have that. And it's the only way that you can, recall a judge, a justice. It's the only way. And for 20 years, this man has not disclosed any of the largesse. He hasn't disclosed any of his private jet travels. He hasn't disclosed any of his sojourns to exclusive retreats around this nation. He hasn't disclosed any times that he's ever visited the all-male, ultra-exclusive, skull and bonesy, Yale-like society called Bohemian Grove. He's never disclosed any of it. None of this largesse ever appeared on Thomas's financial disclosure forms. And I will tell you that post-Watergate, there were new laws. Yes, there were laws about the presidential records and who they really belong to, and they don't belong to the president. They belong to us, and they go to the National Archives for safekeeping, and they are the right. Also, after Watergate, we did financial disclosure laws that don't exactly require that the people that are sitting on the Supreme Court have codes of ethics or codes of behavior or codes of conduct that they must live by. All the lower courts do, but not that court. Why? That would be an affront to them. And so they've done everything to beat back and beat down any idea of ethics codes or good conduct codes that might apply to the Supreme Court. Every time it gets close, they send in Leonard Leo with some checks. I mean, do you understand what's going on here and how you're being duped out of a just society? Do you understand why we have a 2, maybe 3, maybe 4-tier justice system? Because those who do pay get different treatment than those who don't, and those who can pay on the back end get different treatment from those who can't. That's just a fact, and everybody knows it. You take some Skittles out of a 7-Eleven, and you could end up on Rikers Island pending trial. But you take $2 billion in Saudi money for looking the other way after a Washington Post columnist is dismembered with a bone saw in an embassy. You look the other way, you say it's not a thing, it didn't happen, or you hand a list to the incoming royal about the people in his family that don't want to see him ascend to the throne. Then he kidnaps those people on that list, puts them in the freaking Ritz-Carlton, because that's the level at which these people are entitled to be kidnapped at, kill one guy or torture the other one, and and Jared is never held to account or ever asked a question about how did he know or where did the list come from. And on the back end, he gets $2 billion. I mean, either you're serious about this crap or you're not.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I'm just trying to understand, why did you not go to the ethics committee and do the things that are always done in that body? You have not done this to anybody except for 2 people in 200 years. You can't tell me that there have not been people who have also been disruptive. You've had people that have peed on chairs that did not get expelled. So I don't understand why you skipped the ethics committee. If you want respect and if you want for people to be reasonable, why are you being so unreasonable and why are you skipping steps? I don't understand. You seem to be contradicting. You're not acting the way you want the young people to act.
So the story of someone urinate on somebody's chair is never been quantified. I've heard many people say that. I don't think there's any truth to that. So what you need to understand is this is a body of people who decide corporately what we're going to do moving forward.
What?
This body spoke many times. I brought our caucus together several times since last Thursday to ask the body what we as a group wanted to do. The overwhelming majority, the heartbeat of this caucus says, not on this House floor, not this way. So if there was an idea of sending it to the ethics group, this group, my caucus, which is the supermajority, there's 75 of us, said no.
No, we're not interested in, justice. We're not interested in getting to the bottom. And by the way, whoever peed on the chair, it was never quantified, like how many, ounces of pee. What do we need to quantify?
Oh, I was thinking how many times. But it could be
how many times?
It could be how much.
Yeah, I mean, I thought how much because, I'm a girl and, doctors won't see girls unless we pee in the cup first. We have to pee in the cup. We're all pregnant until we're proved not pregnant. And so doctors won't even see us until we pee in a cup. And, the cup is like, how much do you put in there? You know what I mean? It's like, it's such a conundrum. Like, do I fill it to the top? Because that would be kind of disgusting. Do I, I sort of know I should do, like at least half, but is it more than, like how much do they need? And so when he says quantify, I think of like how much, but it could be how many times. It could be how many times. And I mean, listen, here's the thing. The first thing that happens to somebody who is, let's say out of order or unruly in the House of Representatives is they're reprimanded. Their words are taken down. How many times have you heard that? And you go, well, what does that accomplish? Nothing. Okay. But that is a message to them. Don't do it again. You're reprimanded. Your words are taken down. Then you may be censured, right? And they go, well, what good does that do? Nothing. It just sends a message to them that, you're not behaving right. Then perhaps they're fined. Maybe there's a fine for what they did. Like peeing on a chair, I would think is a finable offense, okay? Then maybe there's, an ethics committee hearing if it goes that far. And the ethics committee will then look at, did you do what you did? Was it criminal? Was it just unethical? A la, Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas isn't breaking any laws by, being wined and dined and listening to lobbyists on private jets or traveling to, an island hopping excursion in Indonesia on, some rich donor's dime. Unfortunately for us, post-Watergate, we didn't actually require very much of the Supreme Court justices except disclosure. And he has failed to disclose. Hence, we need to have some sort of an ethics hearing about why he's embarrassed or why he hid or why he didn't disclose. Is he just, I don't know, absent-minded? Is he addled? Does he have ADD? Does he forget when he's doing his tasks that he needs to complete them? Because if that's the case, we could, put Post-it notes while he's making decisions that will affect our lives for the rest of our lives. He may need to post it. But we need an ethics hearing, and they should have had one in Tennessee before they were expelled for exercising their free speech rights on the well of the House in between debates on bills. It wasn't during the debate on anything. Okay? But Clarence Thomas, my God, either it applies, to everyone, that everybody that does a bad thing gets expelled, or it applies to no one. And this is how we got here, okay? This is exactly how we got here. It's interesting because they say, well, Generation Z is not going to tolerate being shot in school. Well, I'm glad you finally found your rallying cry issue. I'm glad you finally found an issue that literally gelled with your demographic, because forever my demographic has been begging you to vote and you don't. You didn't show up. My generation's been begging you to pay attention to illegally declared wars. We've been trying to get you to pay attention to torture. We've been trying to get you to pay attention to never-ending authorizations to spy through the Patriot Act, or never-ending authorizations to wage war. We've been asking you for years now, for 20 years, to pay attention to campaign finance reform, to tell you that money is being funneled into state legislatures, money's being funneled into the House of Representatives, money's being funneled into the Senate, money's being funneled into select Supreme Court justices, and bad things were going to happen to your freedom. Bad things were going to happen. You didn't want to hear it. You didn't want to show up to vote. You just didn't. And every cycle we had to hear, the young people aren't voting again. The old people will do it. I was a young person and I voted. So don't tell me. It's really gross. But okay, everybody's rallied around this gun thing. Good. Now understand how the gun thing became a thing. Money. Money. And the money bought the legislators. And the legislators bought the maps, the gerrymandered maps. The gerrymandered maps gave them uber over representation because it doesn't look like the country. You understand? There are more people on the side of, red flag laws or background checks or banning assault weapons outright or at least requiring safe storage for them than there are against, like in the 90s, for background checks, like 98%. But you can't get there from here. Why? Because the money allowed for the gerrymandered districts, which diluted everyone who agrees from each other. It separated us from each other so that we all agree, but we all vote in separate districts. And they did that just in case you ever showed up to vote, which you don't. And it really makes me angry now because now I'm being lectured to. I'm being lectured to by the Gen Zs. How did you let this happen? Oh, bite me. I'm glad you're here now. Let's do the stuff we need to do now. I'm glad finally something moved you to action. Something actually piqued your interest. Something like, keeping your life or privacy or not having your data sold to random, no-gooders or to getting scammed and hacked and having no place to go. Or to understanding, that you're not free to move about the country anymore. Or understanding you can't read a book. Well, we don't read books. Yeah, well, I do. Do that one for me. I'll do the guns for you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so much. We really, really went there. And we've been going there. But finally, I think everybody's here. We don't want to go there. Well, it's good that you're here. But just know they went there. And we need to go there, too.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
$5 Good Friday, you bastards! I know, that's like a non sequitur. Those words should never be in a sentence together, but they are. They are, Blanche, they are. Right. Yeah. So it's $5 Good Friday, you bastard. And I just need you to give $5 repeatedly. So the whole idea of $5 Friday is you could do $5. Most people can, but do it every month. And that gives us some sense of where we're going financially. And that's a good thing. So if you can do $5, do it on the app. The text message thing, that is the easiest way to do it. Okay. So if you type in FSTV and send it to 44321. 44321. Put in the letters FSTV. Then we'll send you a secure link. And on that link, you put in $5 and then you choose recurring. You're done. No muss, no fuss. Or if you like talking to a person, I'm not a phone gal, as you can tell, because there's tons of people sitting on that line right now. But if you like the phone, 877-378-8669, that would be the number to dial. And you could talk to a real-life human being over there in Denver, Colorado, and you could thank them for their hard work disseminating these shows to all the places it needs to go, to Apple TV, to DirecTV, to Dish Network, to Sling, to Roku. That's what they do over there. And thank them and give them the $5 repeatedly. And freespeech.org will work, too, if you like doing it on the computer. Freespeech.org. Thank you very, very, very much. Patrick in California.
Hi, Randi.
Hey.
I just wanted to say that Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, I think, are both of them they're 27, for God's sake, but I think both of them are absolutely effing brilliant. And I think that they have the searing intellects, the compassion, the wisdom of both a modern-day Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And I just think that these two gentlemen are exactly the people we need in government to save our country, our Constitution, and our democracy. And I love a quote that's attributed to Elie Mystal. Tennessee has now given the entire country an abject lesson
on
in critical race
CRT.
theory.
That's right. That's right, my friend. I pulled it too. I thought it was just so illustrative of what is going on right now.
Everybody sees it now. Everybody knows it now. Everybody gets exactly what is going on. I love this.
Institutional racism. That's what CRT is. It's a legal theory of institutionalized racism in banks, with redlining, and the law, with this 9-tiered justice system. And now you see it in the Tennessee legislature, where the money buys the map. The map actually dilutes our power. They get a supermajority, and this is what they use it for. That is what they teach in, a critical race theory class. That's exactly what critical race theory is about.
I just love these two gentlemen and many more that are out there who are just terrifying and scaring the living bejesus out of these white, pasty, fascist, mediocre men.
You know, I had a girl actually cancel her subscription with me because I refer to myself as a pasty white person, and she said for some reason pasty really upsets her when we call white people pasty. I'm like, that's what we are. So I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think they're brilliant. I think that Elie Mystal was right. This is what he said.
Tennessee has now given the entire country an object lesson in critical race theory better than any AP history course ever could have, right?
Yep, right.
Everybody sees it now. Everybody knows it now. Everybody gets exactly what's going on. To Harry's point about the Supreme Court, any argument that this was about decorum or the House rules in Tennessee, that the Republicans took that argument off the table for the rest of us when they decided not to expel the white lady, but they did expel the 2 black men, right? So that, I think, opens them up to a legal challenge that's even more serious than how I thought it was going to roll 3 hours ago.
And it's not just that they expelled the 2 black young men, but that they let the 60-year-old white lady who admits, she has absolutely no illusions about why she was saved. Okay. She said, look, they were expelled because they're young, brilliant black men who will not bow down. They are brilliant. They are committed to their constituents and their communities. They're good people. They're smart people. And they got a lot of energy, and they're not going to take it.
Why were those 2 expelled and you weren't?
Well, I think it's pretty clear I'm a 60-year-old white woman, and they are 2 young black men. In listening to the questions and the way they were questioned and the way they were talked to, I was talked down to as a woman, mansplained to, but it was completely different from the questioning that they got.
It was. I don't know if you heard any of the questioning. I pulled some of it because if you didn't hear it, you wouldn't even believe that this was the tone and the tenor of the inquisition that these young men had to go through. These elected representatives who collectively represent 78,000 people. Okay. I mean, some of them accused, they were being persecuted, right? They were being literally publicly lynched by a supermajority of white men in the Tennessee legislature, in the House. And then they accused them of doing their own crime, of committing their own crime against themselves. I mean, it's like your skirt was too short. What did you think was going to happen? Do you know it was that?
The representative's address was a compelling, eloquent statement of why he needs to be expelled.
What?
In fact, when you listen to it carefully and closely, it's clear that he wants to be expelled. That's why he refers to all of you as a dishonorable house. We all saw the video of what he did. He and 2 other representatives effectively conducted a mutiny on March the 30th of 2023 in this very chamber.
You hear the crowd.
Recall that in his opening statement, he called his actions honorable. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that the gentleman shows no remorse. He does not even recognize that what he did was wrong.
Oh my God.
So not to expel him would simply invite him and his colleagues to continue to engage in mutiny on the House floor. A mutiny which to this body and to this state has been unknown in its 227-year history since we adopted our Constitution in 1796.
He's so full of crap. There are bullet holes in the Tennessee legislature. There's literally bullet holes. They fought duels in that chamber. I don't know what this man, but he was the sponsor of the expulsion motion. Okay, that was his name's Gino Bolso over here. Gino, yo, oh, hey, yo, Gino, and Justin Jones was like, what?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I didn't hear a question. But while my colleague's statement was eloquent, what he was essentially saying was that Justin is an uppity Negro. How dare he point at the speaker and call a lie a lie? How dare he act like he's your equal? How dare he come before this body and not bow down? That's what Representative Bolso was saying, and that's what he told me on the elevator 2 days ago when he tried to incite violence against me and got in my face and said, "You are a damn disgrace."
Oh my God.
And I said, "Representative Bolso, hold on, let me pull up my phone. Can you say that again?" And he cowered and chose not to repeat it because he did not want the world to see what a disgrace he is for Williamson County voters.
Damn, so this Bolso guy, this Gino Bolso, oh, yo, the one that actually drafted the expulsion resolution, had confronted Justin Jones in an elevator a couple days before and called him a effing disgrace. An effing disgrace.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Charles and I are sitting here in New York City, where I don't think our audience has a deep or clear enough understanding of what you're experiencing there. Just saying to us in passing, you're in the elevator and a colleague is calling you an effing disgrace. Explain to us what it is like day in and day out working with those Republican colleagues, because it's shocking for us to hear this and we need to understand it.
I mean, you saw some of it in the hearing today. I had a colleague tell me, Representative Kumar, that I should be grateful to be there, basically, that, I should become one of them. I should assimilate. I had another, colleague tell me that how dare you call out the speaker? He has no respect for our speaker because I called the speaker a liar when he said that protest was an insurrection and put the lives of these young people in danger. Just a few weeks ago, we had a member, Representative Paul Sherrill, go on committee and say we should bring back lynching. He said we should bring back hanging by a tree, the death penalty here, by hanging by a tree, and laughed and smirked about it. I mean, this is the body where we had a statue of the KKK that every time you pass into the House chamber, you pass a statue of the first KKK Grand Wizard. And we finally got that removed. This body is a body where I have a history of good trouble. I was arrested here 14 times as a community organizer, fighting for racial justice, fighting for my community. And that's why when I became a lawmaker, they were so angry because, they spent so much time trying to lock me out, to silence our movement, that when I became a member and had to sit on committees with them and they couldn't shut off the microphone, or they shouldn't have been able to, they still did. It enraged them because to them, we are not equal. To them in the South, we still are separate and unequal and not worthy of even being in this place that we call the People's House. It is a very toxic environment. White supremacy is real here in Tennessee. This is the birthplace of the Klan. But it's also the birthplace of a movement of civil rights with people like Diane Nash and John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. And so we have that dual history here. And we want to stand in that other legacy of young people, young Black people challenging this white terror that has defined the South for too long.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's about time that people actually picked up the John Lewis mantle, which was picked up by Martin Luther King Jr., which was picked up before him with, Booker and Tubman and a whole host of people that worked for equality, worked for justice, worked for, the ability to be free, to move freely about the country, to not, be hunted down by slave patrols. Okay. I mean, and it's all coming back. I mean, we got the Florida governor who's got his own slave patrol. He's got his own little militia now. He just funded it with like $100 million. literally funding his own personal militia that isn't answerable to anybody but him, doesn't answer to the feds, you can't even question like what this militia does or what they don't do, or whether or not they end up hurting somebody or shooting somebody or driving their car into somebody. There's no recourse. This is what they're building. They're building like a Stasi. They're building a secret police. They're building, and that's not so secret. And this kid and the others, that joined him in this, this quest for justice, this quest to exert his own duly elected voice to advocate for his constituents, caused him to be expelled. Well, I got an issue. They'll be back on Monday. They will, because their city councils get to vote for an interim member of the House. Because right now, you got 78,000 Tennesseans with no representation in the legislature. They literally have no representatives. It's just stunning. But on Monday, their city councils will vote for interim members, and I'm sure that they will choose Jones and Pearson to go be the interim members to fill their own seats that they won just recently in an election we just had. And they'll be back on Monday. They'll be able to stay in those seats until the next election, which will be in 2024. And I'm pretty sure that, Shelby County and Nashville will vote them back into office, because they have done nothing but talk about democracy and how it's failing. They didn't make it personal. They didn't threaten anybody. They didn't, say this or that or claim any affront or offense personally. They talked about democracy and how it is withering on the vine. They talked about equal justice. They talked about, being an elected official. They talked about the idea that they didn't even go through their own process. There was no ethics committee. There was no reprimand. There was no censure. There was no taking down of words preceding an expulsion. They went all the way. They went from 0 to 60 in 1.2 seconds. And, they're not stupid kids. These kids, I shouldn't even call them kids. They're grown men. He's 27 years old. Seems young, but he's 27 years old. He's been an activist his entire life. He went to Fisk University. Highly educated, highly skilled, highly compassionate, and highly responsive to his constituents. And he said, let's talk about expulsion. What the hell's going on here?
Let's talk about expulsion. For years, one of your colleagues who was an admitted child molester sat in this chamber. No expulsion. One member sits in this chamber who was found guilty of domestic violence. No expulsion. We had a former speaker sit in this chamber who is now under federal investigation. No expulsion. We have a member still under federal investigation. No expulsion. We had a member pee in another member's chair in this chamber.
Peed in a chair.
No expulsion.
Oh my God.
In fact, they're in leadership. But in the governor's administration.
They're in leadership.
So once again, what you're saying to us, since you're trying to put us on trial, I'll say what you're really putting on trial is the state of Tennessee.
That's it.
What you're really showing for the world is holding up a mirror to a state that is going back to some dark roots. A state in which the Ku Klux Klan was founded is now attempting another power grab by silencing the two youngest black representatives and one of the only women, Democratic women in this body. That's what this is about. Let us be real today.
Let us be real today. And why? Because they are tired of gun violence? That's the issue? That's the hill that these Republican supermajority members, that leadership in the governor's administration is peeing on people's seats? This is the hill they chose to die on? The hill where we say, can you please protect the school children? Can you please stop the wholesale slaughter of Tennesseans? Can you please protect 9-year-olds when they're in school? No, we can't. We won't. And in fact, you're going on trial. What? Really sad. Brother David.
Oh, my. Well, sister, Hagsamek Pesach, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And happy $5 Good Friday, chat room. Hi, chat room. You know what to do. RandyRhodes.substack.com or freespeech.org, etc. It's funny. There's nothing funny about it. But the two Justins are definitely going back on Monday.
Yeah.
There's no way they won't. But they've already gone beyond by the coverage this is getting. You know, boom. I think history, if we still have an arc of history to look back, is going to see this as quite a turning point this week.
You never know what the spark that lights the fire in the belly is going to be. And I have a funny feeling that this is the spark, which is why we're not ignoring it, which is why we're fanning it, which is why I want it out there. I want it, lifted.
Precisely.
I want it exalted to the level of outrage that is required here for a response.
That it merits, and then some.
Yeah, listen, they went there, and now finally everyone is here. Yay, welcome. Yeah. But we need to go there. And that's, in case people don't know, what is next? We go there.
Yeah. The other thing is today is the anniversary of the 1949 opening of South Pacific on Broadway. And I didn't know that, but when I was watching the expulsion test, the vote coming down, I kept thinking, you've got to be taught to hate and fear, you've got to be taught, etc.
Good one.
That song could have been written this morning. And since they're trying to unteach so much, this is what we're doing. This is more than a teachable moment. This is a moment of action.
It is. It is.
And there you have it. Have a fabulous weekend, darling.
Thank you. Happy Good Friday. Happy Easter to you.
I gotcha.
Oh, thank you. Mwah. I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. I don't know, but he's right. He picked the right song from that particular play. Anyway, think about it. Plan about it.